When you picture a UN peacekeeper, what comes to mind? Probably that classic image, right? The blue helmet monitoring a ceasefire. But what happens when the job gets way, way more complicated than that? What if their different missions actually start to, well, collide?
Right, so let's get into it. The whole world of peacekeeping has completely changed. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How has their job description really evolved over the years?
And that brings us to the heart of the problem we're unpacking today. See, it's not about just one mission anymore. These are huge, complex operations with a ton of different goals. And here's the kicker. Sometimes those goals actually get in each other's way.
So, all of this complexity creates what you could call the new peacekeeping puzzle. That simple, old school image, it's been replaced by something, well, a lot messier and a lot more challenging.
And this slide just lays it out perfectly. Look back at the old days, like 1948. You had these traditional missions with one single focus. Easy enough, right? But now, you fast forward to something like the mission in Mali, and wow, it's an explosion of different jobs. We're talking fostering democracy, security reform, running elections. I mean, it is a completely different ballgame.
And get this isn't some rare thing. It's the new normal. A whopping 80% of peacekeeping operations today are these super complex, multi-layered missions. This isn't the exception, it's the rule.
So, to help us figure all this out, we're diving into a review of the book When Peacekeeping Missions Collide. It's all about tackling this exact puzzle. How do you manage all these different moving parts without everything falling apart? Okay, so what does this actually look like in the real world? This is where the book gets really interesting. Its central point is that even with the best intentions, different missions can end up clashing, and that creates all sorts of unexpected problems.
And this quote, this really nails it. It says that the success or failure of one mission can impact all the others. It's a system, right? Everything is connected. You just can't look at one piece of the puzzle by itself.
So here's the critical thing to understand. It's not just that each individual mission is tough. I mean, of course, running an election in a conflict zone is hard. The real challenge is making sure the folks running the elections aren't accidentally tripping up the folks working on security, and the other way around. Okay, so how do you even begin to solve a puzzle like that? Well, the book's authors have an idea, a really powerful new way to think about it. They call it the compatibility framework. So what is mission compatibility? Think of it like this. It's basically a teamwork score. Are the different parts of the mission helping each other out? Or at the bare minimum, are they staying out of each other's way? That's the fundamental question this whole framework is built on. And you can break it down pretty simply. On one hand, you have compatible missions. They help each other, they share goals, and that synergy leads to success. But on the other hand, you have incompatible missions. These pull the peacekeepers in conflicting directions. They create friction, and yeah, that usually leads to much less successful outcomes. Now, this isn't just some abstract theory they came up with. Not at all. The book backs this framework up with tons of real-world data from decades of UN operations. So let's take a look at the evidence they've got. And the amount of research here is pretty staggering. I mean, they looked at 70 different UN peacekeeping operations. And this wasn't just a snapshot in time. They covered everything from 1948 all the way up to 2016. And to really put their ideas to the test, they did a deep dive on 5 super complex, really diverse cases. We're talking about conflicts in places like the Congo, the former Yugoslavia, East Timor, and Sierra Leone. So, what did they find? Well, one of the biggest takeaways from all these case studies is that security always seems to bubble up to the top. It becomes the #1 priority, the main event. And how that security piece is handled? It creates this huge ripple effect that touches everything else, from building peace to politics, you name it. So, what's the final verdict on this framework? Is it the magic solution? Well, the review we're looking at gives a really fair assessment. It's seen as a huge step in the right direction, but, like any new tool, it's not quite perfect. Don't get me wrong, the overall take is super positive. I mean, the review uses words like highly useful, groundbreaking, and topical. That tells you just how important this work is for actually understanding how these modern peace operations tick. But it also raises a few good points, some constructive criticism. For one, it says that more charts and graphs, data visualization, could have made the arguments even clearer. It also points out that while those 5 case studies are fascinating, you can't just assume their conclusions apply to every single mission, and it would have been great to see more analysis comparing how these missions depend on each other across the different cases, not just within them.
All right, let's wrap this up. Why does any of this matter? I mean, it's an academic framework, right? So what's the big takeaway? Why should we care?
Here's why it matters. This is not just some theory for a textbook, it's a practical tool. It gives policymakers a way to move past just making a laundry list of things to do. It forces them to stop and think, okay, how are all these goals actually going to work together on the ground? And that leads to way smarter, more effective peace operations. And that really leaves us with a huge, game-changing question for the future. It completely reframes the whole challenge. The key question isn't just what should we do anymore? Now it's, do all our goals actually work together? It's about designing a mission where every single piece is compatible, where every part supports the others. A mission that's actually designed from the ground up to succeed.